I'm very excited to welcome Stephen Scott back on the show. Stephen, thank you for joining me as always. It's always nice to have you here in your dulcet Scottish tones.
Thank you, Mark.
Joined by another guest. His name is Steven Robles, and Stephen, I'm going to try to describe you. How can I describe you? Number one, you're the host of course, your own podcast and YouTube channel, Primary Tech. But do you think people recognize you more from that, or more from all the work you do with Riverside? Which, for those of you who are listening and going, "What on earth is Riverside?" It's an incredible online platform. Should I call it that?
Yeah.
To help podcasters and audio recording and video recording without having to worry about all that equipment you need on site. Is that a good definition?
That's a good definition. And I would say, well, I go to the podcast movement conferences, which there's 2 of those a year. And far and away, it's because my face is on the Riverside homepage, at least right now. And that's where everyone says they see me. They see me every time they have to log in. And I profusely apologize. I say, listen, bookmark the dashboard. This way you just go straight there. But no, it's an honor to work for Riverside. I've been there for it's approaching 3 years now, actually. And it's just an incredible team and platform, like you said, to work with. And I use it for my own show, Primary Tech, as well.
Well, and that's, I use it for my own show too. Stephen and I use it for shows that we do together. Stephen produces a daily show, Double Tap, that's on YouTube and podcast. He does it, I would say, we're at 80% at Riverside, Stephen? Like, there's some things we still can't. Yeah.
It's an incredible platform.
Other Stephen, what came first? Did your channel and your podcast come first? What's your background?
Wow, I have a varied background. I actually studied music. I have a music degree, trumpet performance, which I like mentioning just because
find those videos online somewhere.
It's so random. There are a couple, but so I did a little bit of music after college, and then I got into photography and video for a travel company. So I was doing kind of marketing materials for them, and then I went into live stream production, working with companies doing that. And I wanted to start my own YouTube channel, but I was also looking for a career in the podcasting space. So I started my own YouTube channel during the pandemic, like many people probably did. Didn't do anything with it for a couple of years, and then started to put a little more concerted effort. And podcasting is just a passion of mine. I've been doing it for 14 plus years. I love the medium. And I was making some videos on that and then applied for a job. I saw a job opening at Riverside for a video producer. The fact that I had a few videos already on the channel was a good foot in the door because they could see, okay, he does these things. And so, they really took a chance on me, and I'm so grateful and just love doing it. I make videos for them. And I started focusing on my personal channel at the same time. And that's more tech stuff, shortcuts, iPhone, things like that. And I was able to cross 100K subscribers at the end of last year. And
Congrats.
The Riverside channel, thank you. It's crossing close to 60K right now. Try to get that to 100 this year too.
I have to mention the shortcuts because, again, I saw your face on the Riverside page, and then I started diving in a bit more recently. I'm a big iOS guy. I'm a big smart home fanatic. Ask Steven. I've gone a little crazy here. My wife hates it. It's a story. But you go pretty deep into iOS shortcuts. And you've taught me a bunch of things by just going through your videos that I got to try out now. I have a list going. I literally have a list that says to do, and half of those are just shortcuts from your videos. So thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. And shortcuts is one of those things where I always love them personally. And I followed people like Matthew Casanelli and Federico Vitici, really learned from them. And I started making videos about shortcuts that I love that I think would be useful for people. And then people started asking if I could make shortcuts for them. And over the past year and a half, that has just become an entire community where I created a Circle community, Circle the platform, and we have almost 1,000 people now in there just talking about shortcuts and automation. We have a membership there where people can pay for priority shortcuts requests because I was just getting so many I needed to prioritize. But now, especially if you're trying to get into YouTube, build a YouTube channel, finding that unique niche where you can really set yourself apart and appeal to an audience that's passionate about something. And shortcuts, I didn't think it would be that thing, but it's one of the backbones of my personal YouTube channel because I know I can make a shortcuts video. I have hundreds of requests, and so it's a limitless well of ideas and inspiration. Yeah. And the great thing is when I pull from that well, which are requests from people, and I put those in videos, it's just a flywheel to say, look, I'm actually listening to your comments and your requests. I'm making those shortcuts, and here you go. You can download them, and it's been a great community to build for the channel.
Steven Scott and I were, and no joke, 10 minutes ago, we were talking about finding your audience, finding your niche, and finding what resonates with people. I do want to ask you a little bit of a background there because you talked about some of the inspirations behind those shortcuts that you learned. Did you suffer from a little bit of imposter syndrome diving into that on your own channel? Like worrying about, oh, am I doing this right? Are people going to think I'm not doing it well because of these other people that I follow that are doing it so well?
For sure. And there's also just, if you try to make YouTube videos, it's very slow growth at the beginning. And so you have those questions constantly like, is this even worth it? Is this going to work? But honestly, the names that I mentioned, I'm actually very good friends with Matthew Casanelli. We text all the time, and I've been on his channel to live stream. And it's really great if you can find a niche where you can actually befriend the people in your niche. And the tech YouTube space, there's actually not a lot of uh, like territorialness with the creators. And even if we're all making a video about the latest iOS update, there's still ways you can differentiate. And this goes to any topic or niche that you might be a part of, whether it's vlogging, travel, business, even if you're covering similar topics, just the fact that it's you, your voice talking about it automatically differentiates it, even if you're saying a lot of the same things. But B, really do something different. Try to take a different approach. And so there are guys out there that cover every iPhone update in detail, cover every little change, and I watch them because they do a great job at it. So I choose not to do that exactly. Instead, I'll try to maybe choose 10 features, dive into them in more of a teaching way. Here's how to use this feature. And just that little different angle can help kind of differentiate and set yourself apart.
And you say, finding your niche is important, but, a lot of people starting out, there was a time where you would say, look, it doesn't matter what hardware you've got. It doesn't matter about the microphone. It doesn't matter about the camera. It doesn't matter about any of that. The content is king or queen. What's the take nowadays? Does it matter more how things look, how things sound?
No, I think we're actually even more democratized in whatever gear you have now, you can start creating, which also, just to plug Riverside, Riverside has great AI tools like Magic Audio. So if you use the Riverside app on your iPhone, record with the built-in microphone on your iPhone, you can click Magic Audio and it'll sound studio quality with a built-in mic. And again, every phone camera looks amazing compared to video 10 years ago. So I think if you're wanting to get into content creation, you can literally buy zero gear, maybe a $10 tripod for your phone, and then you can start creating. I think even more so, content is king. You look at TikTok and Instagram Reels, the best performing videos, it doesn't matter if it looks blurry or poor quality. Creators have millions of followers. I think of this one streamer called Queso. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's a big Twitch streamer. He's got millions of followers. His video quality is horrendous. He streams from a dark room, like a cheap built-in webcam, really terrible quality. But he actually won Creator of the Year recently for a video game awards. And it's like now more than ever, people want authenticity. They want to connect with someone, and they want to know that you are offering real value, no matter the quality of the camera.
It's funny you mention, using your phone. I'm a member, I'm sure you are too, of a lot of different Facebook groups and communities. And I tell people that when people want to start out, I'm like, listen, you have one of the best cameras available to you in your hand every single day. And it's amazing the amount of slack I get from people who say, oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't recommend that. And I argue it every single time because you know what? It's true. And sometimes you just got to force yourself to start, even if it's going to look bad, to just get over that hump. You can invest in stuff later. You don't have to spend $5,000 to get up and going, whether it's video or audio. There are ways to do it. There are
Use the back
$60
camera.
mics on Amazon.
Use the back camera, not the front camera. That's the first. That's the
Yeah, there you
important
go.
And I'll actually say I was just doing a USB microphone video for Riverside. This microphone, the Audio Technica ATR 2100X, it's a $50 USB microphone on Amazon. I used this to podcast for about 5 to 7 years when I was starting out. My co-host, I do a movie podcast, he still uses this mic, and it sounds great. You can spend $50 and sound almost professional. And I'm looking at my YouTube channel right now in my most popular videos. 2 of my top 4 videos, one is about my smart home tour, another is about Apple CarPlay. Over 500,000 views, over 700,000 views on those videos, both shot on my iPhone. So if someone's saying you can't do it with a phone or you need better whatever, I don't think they're really doing content creation. They're not in it.
It's partly also, I think it's also because, it is about the fact that the bar has raised in terms of the technology we already have. Like you're saying, Mark, you've got, an iPhone in your pocket that's really powerful, that's got an amazing camera in it. But then you can go further than that. You've got these AI tools, like you're saying on Riverside with Magic Audio. and there are other tools, and there are even tools that can enhance video as well, make it look better. You don't really have a world anymore where it's just whatever you see on the phone is it. You can improve on that, and easily.
Yeah, and you could shoot log film, a ProRes video on your iPhone, and log is kind of like that, looks desaturated, but it basically means you can apply LUTs and do professional color grading. I record to an external SSD from my iPhone 16 Pro, and the video looks incredible. And Apple has a bunch of videos like shot on iPhone. There's a music video with The Weeknd and others. You can get incredible video from this device, and so you don't feel like you have to spend thousands of dollars.
And listen, companies, Moment just sent me a package. I'm waiting for it to arrive. They make cases and accessories and lenses that, clip onto your. I'm sure you're going to pull one up now, right?
It's just out
I
of
see you
reach. I don't know
reaching.
if I'm gonna unplug my headphones for a second. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so they make great tools, and it's funny because this year, this is kind of a fiscal year, I call it, in September, one of my clients said they wanted to start doing more video streaming and stuff like that. And in my mind, I'm like, what is the path of least resistance here? Because they want to turn around quick. And guess what? It's using iPhones. It's using iPhones with the hard drive plugged in, with power and Ethernet, so that I can actually get that stuff onto a computer. Using great things like the DJI mic or the Rode Wireless Go. I mean, it's for me, it's difficult. I got to be honest, because from the broadcast world, 30 years in broadcast, so I'm used to using high quality UHF microphones like Electrosonics. So when I see these smaller things come out, I'm like, oh, how good could they be? Yeah, they're pretty good, guys.
they're really
pretty
good. And
good.
so I was gonna say this is the Moment iPhone cage, and
With the
so
MagSafe, yeah.
with the MagSafe, so you can just put your phone right here to connect, and then I actually built this cage out so I can have an external SSD and battery, so it can charge my phone, records an external SSD, all right here from your device. Has these handles. This is actually a handle from Newer that has a button on it to start and stop recording. Connects
Brilliant.
to your phone via Bluetooth, and there's lots of cold shoe mounts for microphones. Like, you can get professional with an iPhone as well, but yeah, you don't feel like you have to spend that much on cameras. Although if you have the budget, great. I mean, I'm using a mirrorless camera. That's what I use for my YouTube videos. But if you're just starting out, it really is all about what value are you providing for your videos, for your viewers and your listeners, and how it looks secondary.
Steven and I both, I'm sure I could look around. I've got Blackmagic cameras. I've got Sony cameras. I've got lenses. I've got, $5,000 Neumann microphones. And I'm still sitting here using an Instalink 360 webcam with the Shure MV7 mic
Same.
and a couple Elgato key lights. Like, this is under $300 worth of equipment.
Absolutely. And also, so my co-host for Primary Tech, he uses his iPhone in continuity camera mode, so it can connect as a webcam with Riverside. And that's how we do it every week. And we still get thousands of downloads and views for every episode. It's not using a phone is not going to prevent anyone from watching your content. It's not going to deter anyone from doing it. What will deter them is if you're shooting the breeze or you have filler content before you provide any value. And if someone feels like their time is being wasted or you didn't deliver on the click, and this is something we talk about in YouTube videos and in podcasts. A lot of times I go to these podcast conferences and I'll ask someone, "What's your show about?" And I still hear today it's about anything and everything. And I say, "Let me stop you right there, please.
Yeah.
It can't be that." Podcasting 10 years ago, I was still doing it back then, coding my own XML file with a text editor. There were so few podcasts that you could be about anything and everything and maybe shoot the breeze for 20 minutes before you get to the topic, and people would still listen because there was a desire for podcasts, but very few out there. Now, thousands, hundreds of thousands of shows out there, and you'll notice they provide value, get to it right away. And so I encourage people, find what value, whether you entertain people, you educate, you inspire them, whatever combination of those three things, and get to that value as quickly as you can, whether it's a podcast or a video.
I got to mention Riverside as well, because one thing that really irritated me during the pandemic especially was suddenly everything on television became a Zoom channel. And it was horrible to watch. The audio quality was terrible. The video quality was terrible. Very quickly, everyone got used to it because that was the only option they had. And I remember saying to Mark around about sort of mid-2020, why has no one figured out how to use Riverside yet? Because honestly, you could have so much better quality. And this is the key, because I've tried many different solutions over the years. We've tried CleanFeed and we've tried others, and they're really good, brilliant platforms. But the key with Riverside is that local recording at the source, and then the uploading at the end of the recording. So you always have
Uploading during, Stephen, not at the end.
That's
Well,
That's
right.
important.
well, that's right. Upload during. I mean, I'll give you an example of this, right? Because it was a very difficult interview I did with someone who was based in Lebanon, and I couldn't hear a single thing that person said. The internet was cutting out all over the place to the extent that I was hearing about 3 words an answer, and I would just about hear the end of the person speak. I got to the end of the interview, and my co-host said to me, "There is no chance we can save this," and I said, "Just you wait." And we did, and it took about an hour for the content to upload from the other side. And when it did, we had perfect audio from them and perfect video from them. And everyone was blown away. It's like you could even hear. I mean, I'll be honest, I was making up half the questions because I had no idea what the person was even answering. But the point was, it worked, and that says a lot. And even in situations where the edit has or the recording has failed for some reason, something hasn't worked, I still have a recording because it records on the cloud as well. I can't shout about it enough. I think it's fantastic.
I appreciate you saying that. And honestly, I've always been a huge redundancy nerd. And when I was doing
Yeah.
years ago recording just audio, I would record an audio hijack on my Mac. I would record using Zoom, and I would record to an SD
Yep.
card on my Mix-Pre 3. 3 recordings every time because I never wanted to lose something. And now that I use Riverside, I don't worry about that. It has a built-in backup, like you're saying, that cloud recording. But honestly, I use it every week. Never lost an episode. Even times where I was on that spotty hotel Wi-Fi and my internet drops in, drops out. Maybe I have to refresh the page. My co-host will stay in the studio, and when I come back in, Riverside puts it all together for me, and I jump into the Riverside editor. I don't have to worry about dealing with multiple files and trying to cut and splice or match things together. Riverside takes care of it all.
It's funny because a lot of people work for a company, and by the way, disclaimer here: no one's paid us to have this conversation.
No.
Okay, I just reached out to Steven because I just wanted to chat, and that's what I love doing, especially when it comes to 2025. Everybody wants to create content, and just in this conversation alone, I think you threw out a lot of great tips for people who are trying to come into this world. When it comes to this new wave of video podcasts, and let's rewind for a second. Steven and I have been in this business for, 20 something for him, 30 years for me. When people ask me how long I've been podcasting, I'm like, well, it wasn't called a podcast. It was a radio show back then. So that's how long. There's a debate. There's a big debate out there. And you go to the podcast conventions, how important is video? And I'll give you my take, and you're more than welcome to combat me on it and argue. I think that, video is a great complement to the podcasting world. I think rolling video on what you're doing is great because you can then lift clips and use it as a great marketing tool to get people to your podcast. But at the end of the day, a podcast in its nature can be just listened to when you're doing stuff, when you're out and about, and video requires way more attention and a bigger connection. But what are the trends you're seeing when you go to these events?
I post a lot about this on social media, and I get wild replies. I think there's a world where, like us, that we're a part of podcasting for 10, 15 plus years, where podcasting equals audio only content. And I get it. That's still how the primary way that I consume podcasts. I listen to them. That's how I listen to all my podcasts. But I also recognize if you're wanting to start a show in 2025 or grow a show in 2025 and beyond, video is a critical component for several reasons. One, like you said, sharing clips from your content is a huge discovery mechanism. You're not going to get millions of views likely on TikTok, Instagram Reels, or whatever, but people will discover from those short form clips. And it takes a long time. I told this story. I saw clips of the Theo Vaughn podcast probably for 2 years, never listening to an episode. I would just see clips on TikTok or whatever and think what you want about him. He had funny clips and I would watch them. And eventually I saw he had a guest and I was interested enough. And listen, here's the thing: podcasting, for someone to listen, it's work. You don't just get a podcast episode delivered to your iPhone out of nowhere. Unlike video, when you have that short form video, people are already scrolling Reels and TikTok and Instagram will serve your content to people. Unlike a podcast episode where someone has to unlock their phone, go to their podcast app, search for your podcast name, make sure the artwork and the names match the person they're thinking of, click follow, go to an episode, click download, and click play.
Yeah.
It's a lot of steps. And so that's why video is allowing podcasting to have another form of discoverability that it didn't have before. So yes, video is critical for that reason. And two, the stats say younger generations just prefer video. Not even if they're watching it actively. People will press play on a video podcast on YouTube and minimize the window, maybe. I actually have people who listen to Primary Tech who listen primarily on YouTube. And they'll say, I listen on YouTube, the window's minimized. But then if you mention something on screen, and we try to make it visually engaging, I'm sharing my screen the entire episode, I'm showing video clips. If we mention something, they'll expand the window, see what we talked about, and then they'll hide it again. There's an entire multiple generations, everyone under 30 prefer that method of podcast consumption. So if, as a podcast creator, you want to reach as many people, especially younger generations, and have a method of discoverability, I think video is a key component.
Yeah, it seems to me that you really need to understand social media in the sense of what the platform is and what the platform can deliver. Ultimately, you could just make it about, it's the best free marketing tool you've got available to you, right? I mean, it's there. You can just upload content to it, and it could be just clips of the show. You don't have to even make, I mean, I don't know what you would advise, but, I don't think you would need to necessarily even make exclusive content for these platforms. It could just be clips of the shows you already do, the work you already do.
And there's another great Riverside feature called Magic Clips, where we basically do it for you. You record an hour and a half episode of a podcast, click Magic Clips. We'll give you a dozen vertical videos. You can generate multiple rounds of that. You can even type in what topic you want these clips to focus on. It'll put the animated captions, and you're done. But that's what we do for Primary Tech. I create those Magic Clips for Riverside. I share it in the shorts of our YouTube channel, Instagram Reels, TikTok. And that's it. Just have it everywhere. And that's the other thing. Be everywhere. If you're trying to grow a show, find an audience, be as many places as you can so people can discover. And post those same vertical video clips on Threads, on Blue Sky, on Mastodon. You can post it on those. Yeah, everywhere. LinkedIn.
Why not?
You can post them everywhere. So just be everywhere. You create them once, post everywhere. It's going to raise you the chance that someone finds you and loves your content.
Can we go behind the curtain for just a quick second on Riverside
Please.
for what you're allowed to talk about? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want any secrets here. But what is the process about listening to consumers? Because before I engaged with people at Riverside, because I have conversations now fairly often about features and ideas and stuff like that, I felt that it was always the things I think of almost are there before I even find out that they were announced. Like literally, I'll log in. I'm like, oh, wait a second. I can do a workflow now, and I don't have to remember to do this every single time. They just appear. Is that based on just kind of community outreach, watching to see what people want?
Absolutely. We have an amazing Facebook community of creators for Riverside. I think it's over 11,000 people. I look at every YouTube comment, and it's tough. There's a lot of comments now.
Yeah.
I look at every YouTube comment, feedback from emails, from users. We do monthly webinars, and we have lots of users that'll tune in and share what they're wanting. So we absolutely see every feature request. We have a place where we keep track of all those requests and share it with the team. And listen, we have a long roadmap, many features even coming this year. Really excited about. Can't talk about all those features, but we listen, we hear, and also the term is called dog fooding when a company and the employees of the company actually use the product. And so many people within Riverside, we dog food our own product. All of our team meetings internally, we use the Riverside to do all those internal team meetings. For our webinars, we use Riverside to live stream the webinars to YouTube and other platforms. Riverside has great live streaming tools. I use it every week for my video podcast. And so the fact that we're using it all the time, we understand the pain points if people have those and the ideal feature requests. And so we kind of already know, like you're saying, but we also listen to all the comments.
I love it. There's an event coming up, a live stream in a couple of weeks, I think it is. End of January. Was it a 24-hour live stream? What's that about?
We're doing a live stream marathon. I don't know if it's going to be 24 hours. I think it's like maybe 8 or 9 hours.
Oh, come on. You can do 24 hours.
We're doing 24 hours.
You're in the U.S., right? And they're in Tel Aviv. Come
That's
on.
Right.
It's like,
That's
you can
right.
do this.
We're going to push the limits for sure. We're going to have multiple guests. I'm going to be a part of several sessions during the live stream. Kendall, our community manager, is going to be hosting pretty much all of the whole marathon. But we're going to show off because we want to let people know live streaming is now one of the core use cases for Riverside. We did a lot of webinars and doing it internally for internal team meetings, things like that. But now when it comes to live streaming, we're really trying to simplify the process, but still give people powerful tools to do it. And so I've used Riverside to live stream to our podcast YouTube channel, because you can live stream to YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, any RTMP destination, including Instagram. You can do all of that directly from in Riverside, and you still get that high quality recording, which is a lot of the challenge, because I've used apps for live streaming on my Mac, and there are great apps for that. But a lot of times, if you want to live stream and record, that's going to put a lot of processor intensive tasks on your machine. And some machines can't handle both recording and live streaming at the same time. Well, Riverside can do it all for you because it's happening in the cloud. The local recording is happening, that's being uploaded, but live streaming and recording is so simple. And you get all those AI features like magic clips and magic audio after the fact, too.
So much fun. I'm going to be a guest on, I think, a half hour of that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be on it with you, actually. I just found out
great.
today.
Awesome. There we go. So now we've broken the ice.
Yeah,
it's all good, to go.
It's going to be great. We'll nerd out.
Steven, you're going to come back because I'm not going to let you not come back. Where can people find you if they want to?
Oh, you can find me at youtube.com/RiversideFM. I have a bunch of videos on there. I was saying doing a bunch of USB mic and stream mic comparisons.
Looking forward to that.
Teach you how to use the platforms.
Yeah.
And you can find me at Steven Robles on the different social media platforms. And my YouTube channel personally is Beard FM. You can just do at Beard FM, and that's.
I'm sure that's a story for another day.
That's also my website. You can just go to beard.fm. It's pretty good. I thought it was a good domain. So
it's good. That's great. Both Stevens, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. We're going to take a quick break and come back to wrap things up.
Pleasure to have. Thank you.